We're gonna have to shoot this one quickly because Marius apparently has some other stuff to do.
Yeah, but this time it is recording.
This is the third time we've tried to shoot this.
There's a red thing around it, see? It's just...
Are you sure that it's recording?
Yes.
2 times we've tried to record this cocktail, 2 times we've gotten through it, and 2 times the main camera wasn't recording.
Third time's the charm.
Is it though?
Yes.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It better be. All right. The Snoopy cocktail was created, well, I don't know if it was created by a guy named Stan Jones, but it is from the Jones Complete Cocktail Guide of 1970. I think the original edition was 1971. Subsequent editions, or subsequent edition, printed in 1977. It's a pretty rare book, very obscure. Not a lot of copies on the internet, and they go for about $175 to $229. The 2 that I found, one on Amazon, the other one on eBay. I was pointed to the Snoopy cocktail by our good friend Garrett Richard, a New York City bartender that runs and does all of the cool creative stuff at the Sunken Harbor Club. And apparently a few New York City bars have been putting this on their menu, just kind of revitalize this classic. So we are going to mix it and see if we like it. It is an old-fashioned variation that apparently you shake due to its 1/4 ounce of lemon juice content. But you know, quite honestly, there is a whole class of cocktails now that are citrus cocktails that have various amounts of citrus in it that are stirred to give it a little more of a silky mouthfeel. I feel like this could be one of them, but since the original recipe calls for shaking, we're going to shake.
But it doesn't have any bitters, so it's technically not like
It does have bitters. What do you think this is?
I don't know.
Those are bitters. No, those are bitters. We're not going to have an argument about whether or not this is the same as this. They are the same general thing. This is a little less concentrated, but not much. So it can still be an old-fashioned variation. But what makes it kind of weird for an old-fashioned variation is this 1/4 ounce of citrus. That being said, that's not enough citrus to really classify it as a sour, is it? I don't know. I'll let you guys have it out in the comments. What do you think? Is it a sour or is it an old-fashioned? You decide and let us know what you think. 1/4 ounce of lemon. I would squeeze lemon, but I don't have to because I squeezed it earlier. Ta-da. I'll stop being a dick now.
Can you?
I mean, for short periods of time, I definitely can.
Are we doing
I don't know if I can do it for a whole day, though.
And are we doing Aperol or Campari?
We're doing Aperol. I said, the Aperol goes good with it, dude. I don't know what it is
you said that in the last video.
Aperol. No, that's what I just think.
Okay.
That's why I said it in the last video. And not only that, I said it in the video previously, too, that none of you guys will ever see due to Marius's, competent camera work. All right. Half an ounce. You're making me all flustered. Half an ounce of Aperol. Half an ounce of Galiano. Also, the main spirits is a split base between the Grand Marnier and the Bourbon. And it only amounts to 1.5 ounces, and usually old fashions are 2 ounces. So there's another thing that sort of kind of points it outside of the old fashioned realm. 3/4 ounce of bourbon. We're using the overproof kind. And last but not least, 3/4 ounce of Grand Marnier.
I mean, it can also be kind of a daisy, can it?
Yeah, I mean, it would be, I guess, kind of a daisy because it has liqueurs in it. So yeah, even the daisy is kind of a weird. There's kind of a weird definition. Like the definition of a daisy is a little bit weird too because, originally when I was kind of taught cocktails, I was taught that a daisy is a sour, but it lacks sugar, and in place of sugar, you have a liqueur, right? So it's less sweet and it's more tart. But when you look into the actual history of what a daisy is, sometimes it has a liqueur only, like the margarita and the sidecar, like the originals. And then sometimes it contains a liqueur and sugar content, and a simple syrup or grenadine or something like that. So really, the definition of a daisy is like whether or not it has sugar doesn't really matter. It's just a sour that contains a liqueur.
Right.
That's the only, which is, I guess that's fine definitions. I don't know why people thought that there would have to be like a demarcation between a sour that is just a sour and then one that has a liqueur though. But arbitrary rules and arbitrary categories are something that was rife during the 1800s and early 1900s. All right, I don't know, I almost forgot how to talk there for a second. We're gonna have to bore the audience with a little ice cutting. A revenge party, a party that ends somebody's head on a spike. I mean, technically it's too big a glass for this drink, but I don't love cocktails that sit low in a big ass glass, but this does look nicer than what you would normally find in a bar, so I'm gonna give myself a pass on it.
It's an interesting color.
You love the color.
Yeah, I mean,
What do you love the color? It's like salmon color.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, yeah.
That's, salmon. It's like a little opaque from the lemon.
Yeah.
And then the yellow and the red of the Galiano and the Aperol make it orange.
Yeah, just like a unusual shade of orange, yeah.
Nice fresh orange vibes on the nose. It's a strange flavored cocktail. I mean, the bourbon almost sits apart from the rest of the drink. You get a lot of the Grand Marnier right up front. You get the bitterness of the Aperol. The Galiano, the only thing that's throwing me about the Galiano is that Galiano has this like pronounced anise flavor that just is weird in this drink. Like they should be using like maybe like liqueur 43 to judge this drink and just get rid of that anise component, because having like a botanical element is fine, but the anise is like crazy. And the bourbon seems to almost sit apart from it. I wonder if we did like an 80 proof bourbon, if it would sit better in the cocktail. It's not bad, it's just like, it's shockingly weird to begin with. But as it's grown on my palate, it's sort of grown on me.
Right. I think
it's nice. It's almost creamsicle-y. It's almost like an orange creamsicle. A little bit more bitter than that, which I like because I like that sweetness being tempered. And Galiano is incredibly sweet. So
I think we need to train you on licorice and anise.
What do you mean train me on it?
To get used to it and to like
But
it.
I am used to it. I drink
to like it.
A copious amount of absinthe.
But to like it. Because you don't like
why?
Yeah, because you don't like it.
Can you be trained to like that
Yes.
flavor? I don't know. A lot of people don't like it. Do you like it?
I like it.
You like that's because you're from the frickin' Netherlands, though. I feel like Europeans, and especially people from the Netherlands, like have been trained on that flavor. But I've been eating that flavor. I've been eating anise and like black licorice and stuff for my whole life, and I've never liked it.
Yeah, well, American black licorice
yourself
is
on
not licorice.
What?
American black licorice is
Yeah,
not.
but you brought some back from Norway, and I've had that too, and it's not much better.
It is.
No,
but
it's not much better. I'm telling you, from the American perspective anyway, it's not much better.
From the American perspective. I don't think Netherlands do a lot of licorice. Finland is big on licorice, and Sweden and Norway, but Finland specifically.
Finland more so than Sweden and Norway?
Yeah.
But the thing is that Sweden, Norway, Denmark, they all are super big on anise. Maybe not licorice particularly, but on anise. Because there's a massive anise component. Like the only thing so aquavit, right? Danish aquavit, Swedish aquavit, and Norwegian aquavit, it's all different.
Yeah.
But the one thing that remains really consistent is that they all have a strong anise component in every single one of those. Mm-hmm. They love their anise, and so they like that flavor. They like that black licorice flavor. And where does black licorice get its flavor from? It comes from anise. Why didn't you say it? I was like pointing to you to say it. I was like, it comes from
anise.
There you go. Yeah. You didn't take the cue. Did you not know what I was doing when I did that?
Yeah, no.
Should I have ramped it up more? Like, it comes from...
But,
studio audience!
But there's also a licorice root that I think we've...
Oh, there's licorice root as well.
I think some of it comes from that.
Possibly.
Traditionally, not the star anise type.
Not the star anise?
Yeah.
They're very, very similar in flavor, though.
Yeah.
Maybe it's star anise and licorice root.
Yeah, now it's probably a mishmash of stuff. But they grow, you can find licorice root in nature. It's in the Nordic countries.
I wouldn't be surprised if licorice root was used in aquavit production either, though.
Yeah, probably.
Seeing as it's so prevalent.
At least probably traditionally,
yeah. So which do you say was, you said the Netherlands was not so much?
I don't think they are big on...
Pickled fish and licorice root?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Whale steaks and stuff? Not so much?
No, they like
Finland.
Stroopwafels and tulips.
True. I can attest, we went through Amsterdam's airport last year and it was stroopwafel everywhere.
Yeah. Everywhere.
There was stroopwafel everywhere. Like everywhere.
Yeah.
Like in every single duty-free store, there was stroopwafel. Mm-hmm. That and Tony's Chocolonely.
Chocolonely.
Does that come from?
It's Dutch, yeah.
Oh, it's Dutch? Is it a Dutch brand?
Dutch. Yeah.
Because I was like, they had like a massive Tony's Chocolonely.
But they made huge success in the US, and that's where it kind of...
By the way, it's not Tony's Chocolonely, it's Tony's Chocolonely.
I know. It's just
which is weird.
Worse name.
Tony's Chocolonely. But why wouldn't you call it Tony Chocolonely? That
I don't know.
Makes sense.
That's a missed opportunity.
Tony's Chocolonely doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. I think they missed the mark on that.
They did. They totally did. But you know what's really fun, what kind of infuriating about it, and it's like if you have OCD, it probably like would really weigh on your OCD, is that they came so close to the mark, but missed the mark anyway. All right, well, you know, this is a major aside in this video. Has nothing to do with the Snoopy. Well, it kind of, in that we were talking about anise flavors, but I don't think I will ever like it. And even if you trained me on it and I started to like it, I wouldn't admit it. So you'll never know.
So whenever there's a anise cocktail he doesn't like, just take it with a tiny grain of salt.
Just, by the way, just FYI, I want my own side-eye cam. You have a side-eye cam? I want my own side-eye cam.
It's not a side-eye cam on purpose.
It is a side-eye cam. I see you giving side-eye. I see the edits, dude. I see you giving side-eye all the time. You're always like, I always say something and you're all like, looking all side-eye at the camera. I want a side-eye cam now too. I think we should both have side-eye cams. I don't know. What do you guys think? You think I should get a side-eye cam? I think I should. All right.